All right, hello again, everybody, and this is Chuck Guglielmo. Welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. And today I'm very excited to have one of the finest young men I know, 24-year-old Denny Glasser. Denny, how you doing tonight?
Doing very good, Mr. Guglielmo. Thank you for having me.
Denny is one of my all-time favorite confirmation students, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But first, Denny, you are home from Chicago.
Correct.
And you have been in Chicago how long?
3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell the people what you do in Chicago in a little bit. But first, the Browns won, Stacy. How about that? Who would have thought? But Denny is a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, like Cindy is. How did you become a Steelers fan?
Very interesting. My father, born and raised in Ohio, became a big fan of the black and gold in the 70s when they won their 4 Super Bowls, and really fell in love with them then. And growing up, I just wanted to cheer on the team that my father loved. So.
And you fell in love with a very good team because they have been a solid football organization since the 70s.
It's very true. Very stable.
Yes. I don't want to talk too much sports, but just one thing. What do you think makes the Pittsburgh Steelers so good year in and year out? And then you look at a franchise like Cleveland, who has struggled since 1999. What's the differences that you see?
From obviously being a Steelers fan and being on the outside looking in for Cleveland, one of the biggest differences is stability. Like I mentioned just a little bit ago, it's really the foundation. The Rooneys have always, held the standard as the standard as being, part of our philosophy. And we've only had 3 coaches since 1969, so right there's kind of like the difference between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. We a lot more job security goes into letting the guys know around the locker room you can make mistakes, and keep striving for a championship.
I like Denny so much that I'm not going to hold that he's a Steelers fan. Enjoy it because they're, like I say, they've been a very successful
Thank you.
Football team. Denny, why don't we start by telling, I can go back with you, I've known you since confirmation, by the age of 13. Of course, I grew up with your dad, went to school with your dad. You look exactly like him. Talk about your days starting with confirmation when you were in my Sunday class. What was that like for you? And I wanted you to come in yesterday, but you had something you were doing, so you couldn't.
Definitely. Pretty much going back to when I had you as a CCD teacher, it was something I was very proud of, and I look forward to the whole process of being confirmed. I believe that was 8th grade?
8th grade, yes.
I believe. So,
talking what, about 11 years ago?
I believe so. I think we're right around that mark, and just growing up as a man, looking forward to that next step. And obviously having a great teacher and a leader like yourself, just to, understand what we were going through, and just learning lessons every Sunday from you was very important in those steps to take.
Okay. And then you went on to Conneaut High School.
Correct.
And what were some of your studies in the high school? What did you know, like you're into theater?
Yes.
So did you know that when you were in my confirmation class, that's what you wanted to do, or was it when you got in high school?
It's very interesting how it worked out. I have always had a love for being on stage and entertaining people, making people laugh. But I drifted away from that in school, and I really wanted to become a professional baseball player. And I was cut in 10th grade from the high school baseball team.
I did not know you wanted to do that.
That was my dream. My all-time passion was to become a baseball player. And right around junior year, when the tryouts were coming back around for baseball, I really had a big decision. I had a lot of close friends that wanted me to get into the acting side of high school. And when auditions and tryouts came around, I decided to go audition instead of try out for the baseball team again. And so far, the rest is history. I really found that I enjoy playing and performing on theater.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear a lot about that, but I never knew you wanted to be a baseball player. What position?
really found love in center field. Then that was, of course, I was growing up with Grady Sizemore, so that was my idol then.
Oh, that's right. Now, you are a Cleveland Indians fan or a
Diehard.
Pirate fan. Now, why is that different? Football with Pittsburgh, baseball's with Cleveland. And
Pretty much my father, he Cleveland Indians fan, and I
Yes.
just wanted to follow Dad's steps, and
That's my number one sport, in case you can't tell.
we both share a big passion for the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah.
We love them.
And they need to get things turned around too. Do you think they'll make any big splashes here before the season starts?
Sure would love to see some hitting. The pitching, of course, is rock solid, if not beyond rock solid. And I think if we can just add a couple pieces in the lineup to, so we're not playing, small ball all the time and actually can put up 5 runs consistently.
Are you really willing to forfeit one of those starters to get a power bat?
Those top 2, Kluber and Carrasco, I want to keep them. We may have a little more flexibility afterwards. We have some big pitching prospects coming up through the pipelines, which that's not something we've always been able to brag about, but we actually have some nice pitchers coming up that may be able to, fill some spots in that rotation if we do indeed make a trade.
See, I promised not to talk sports, but I'm ending up talking sports. Let's get back to Conneaut High School now. So you were in the 9th grade when you decided you might want to go into theater?
10th
10th
or 10th grade. When both tryout and audition came around, that's when I really found out what my true passion was.
So did you have Steve Rhodes as a teacher in Conneaut High School?
I did not, actually. I believe I had his daughter, Mrs. Wacker, as a literature teacher, drama teacher, and she, of course, was our director for the high school plays.
My guest is Denny Glasser. We're talking to one of the nicest men I know at the age of 24 here. And Denny, then from high school, where did you go then when you left, when you graduated from Conneaut High School? Where did that take you?
Right out of high school, I actually had the plan of originally going to New York City. And the only way I knew how to make it there was to save up. So I went out on the Great Lakes and worked on a steamship for about 4 months, saved up. Correct. Saved up a lot of money in the process. And then during the winter and I believe the beginning of that next year, I really focused on where I'm going to take my talents, where I wanted to study at. And New York is not cheap. That's not any kind of secret, but I found out that Chicago and the second city was actually like a perfect fit for what I wanted to accomplish, and actually the comedy world, and that's where I ended up going.
I know one of the Indians announcers said that Chicago is the best downtown in the entire United States of America.
It's beautiful. It really is.
And you went to Chicago starting what year?
I moved to Chicago, so to actually correct that, it's actually been 4.5 years that I've been there. Been so long, but I moved there in 2011.
2011?
2011, yeah.
Okay, and I think you were telling me before we came on the air, you're not exactly in the city, but you're like a 10-minute walk from downtown?
Correct, very close to downtown, just all of a 10-minute walk or so.
How often do you get back to Conneaut?
Usually about 2 times a year. I'm very busy between work and shows in Chicago that really I only have a couple opportunities that I can pick out throughout the year to come back.
Okay, talk a little bit now about theater. What are some of the qualifications you had to have to get into theater?
So the interesting thing with Second City is it's you can come in level entry and begin their beginning improv programs. And you have to be 19, and that's what I was when I moved to Chicago. And I started at 19. I went through their 1-year course for improv. And then, of course, it becomes harder. The likes of Tina Fey and Steve Carell, they all had to go through what's called the conservatory. That's where you really start to move up through Second City. And I was able to go through the conservatory, which is a very hard process.
I was just going to say, a lot of hard work to be in theater.
Yeah, it's that's where it becomes a little more cutthroat for auditions. A lot of people are going for just a very few amount of spots. And I was able to make the conservatory, and I recently graduated 2 months ago from that. And that's kind of like the master's degree level of what comedy, like a Harvard of comedy would give you.
Mm-hmm. Tell us some of the stuff you've been in so far.
So far, this year is a very busy, productive year for myself. I've actually eclipsed over 50 shows. I was able to make multiple sketch comedy reviews, many improv programs, or improv shows that is, and I was able to complete, so far, 3 major schools in Chicago for comedy. That's kind of like the Ivy League of comedy. So I was able to complete that in Chicago, and just now focus on shows and getting my name out there, getting as much experience as possible in Chicago to move on to that next step of what I really want to do is SNL. That's always been my goal. It's always been my dream. So I'm getting every step closer to Saturday Night Live.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here I was thinking you were going to be coming on The Young and the Restless, one of my favorite soap operas, but you'd be good on that show too.
Thank you. Thank you.
You really would be. I would like to come out to Chicago. I do get there. We have family there. Just in the summertime, we usually come like around July. Do you do any performances in the summertime out there as well?
Yes, I do. I have my own sketch group that we put on shows. Put on a few shows actually during this past summer. And so far, I actually just got offered a new run for the beginning of 2016. I have a new run at Second City for more comedy shows. So anyone from our hometown would be welcome to come out to Chicago and watch some really good comedy.
We'd love to do that. Is it all comedy you do, or do you do other things as well?
At this point now, I've just focused on comedy. I do writing, sketch comedy writing, improv, and just sketch acting, which is mostly what you see on Saturday Night Live. A lot of quick 5-minute sketches, 5-minute scenes with multiple characters involved.
Do you have to have any kind of a degree to work in theater?
Not in Second City as far as moving up through the improv and acting program. They actually, you get your own certificates through Second City. So they're their own training program to move up, and then that's what you will use as your resume. And you show that your resume and your certificates as proof that you've been through the program and you know how to act and do comedy.
This is really exciting, talking to Denny about this stuff. When you first went out there now, did you have to go to any kind of workshops to prepare yourself for?
The interesting thing is, when I first moved out to Chicago, I really didn't know much about improv. I did very little improv in Conneaut. I actually did mostly theater musicals in Conneaut High School. And then once I moved to Chicago, I took one drop-in class before my actual classes started up at Second City. And it's night and day from where I first started with improv to where I am now. I understand a lot more where and how I have to take my business to the next level, whereas when I first started, I was just joking around. I really had no clue what I was doing in an improv scene.
So when you were in Conneaut High School, what are some of the stuff you performed in there?
I remember my first musical was Little Shop of Horrors, and I was, I believe, Dr. Oren, I believe. It was also played by Steve Martin in the original Little Shop of Horrors, and that's how I understood. I got one of the good comedy roles in high school.
What was your junior year?
That was my junior year. And then my senior year, I remember we did a small one-act play. Fortunately, I don't remember the name of that. It was a small play. And then we finished my senior year with Once Upon a Mattress. And that's where I got to play a king that had no speaking role. So I actually had to learn a lot of different sign language and movements to carry on an entire play without speaking any words. And also a comedy role. So the stars were lining up that I was supposed to be making people laugh on stage.
Tell me about the tryouts. What were they like at Conneaut?
They were good. I remember I would go in and we would just do a small monologue, and I believe do a little bit of a singing part as well. And it was pretty quick. I did realize though that how well my singing voice was portrayed when I did my singing role senior year, and then I got my silent character. So I think they let the singing go off to the side, and they let me just stick with making people laugh.
I know you. I think you're being modest. You probably got a beautiful singing voice, Denny.
Thank you.
Do you need an agent?
Moving up, I will be looking at agencies. It's all about getting the experience first and being able to show them film or highlights of you being on stage. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm actually at the point now where I'm able to put out headshots and highlights of me being on Second City, things that can even be found on YouTube, that where I'm performing in front of live crowds, and then that's where you put it into talent agents, where they can, of course, evaluate your talent and try to find you something in the city or beyond New York or LA where you can find work there.
I keep jumping back and forth from Chicago to Conneaut because I just thought of another question. When you were at Conneaut, you were a junior and a senior when you performed. Can sophomores perform, or do you have to be a junior?
I believe it's open. The thespians at Conneaut High School are able to start as young as freshmen and sophomores. Unfortunately, I didn't participate in either because that was when I was more into baseball and sports at that time. But I believe it's open to as young as freshmen.
Do you critique yourself?
Constantly.
Tell us about it.
Usually what I will do is I will record a show that I'm performing in, and it's at this point it's not about memorizing lines, it's not even necessarily about how many laughs I'm getting. At this point it's more timing, how I'm delivering the lines, when I'm delivering them, and just small things that usually people in the audience wouldn't look at, but body motion and just your body language as a character. In improv I take on multiple characters throughout an entire improv show. I can do sometimes up to 15, 20 different characters.
Wow.
So I'm always constantly seeing how am I adjusting my body? Is my voice changing? So I will always make people laugh, but I want to know that I'm doing it in a technical and fundamentally sound way, that it is a professional way about going.
Are you asking other people you perform with to critique you as well?
Definitely.
And you critique them?
We're very good in the improv community in Chicago of having each other's back and letting each other know what we need to work on, what we were able to see, and pretty much how we were even able to perform with each other, because in improv, obviously nothing is scripted, nothing is written down, so you're just making everything up on the spot, and you're actually able to kind of feed off of each other and let each other know, what move you're about to make in that scene and how the other one was able to take that line and do something with it.
How was it? How was the adjustment for you when you went to Chicago? When you first got there, were you nervous? How was it?
It was a really big adjustment at first. Coming from Conneaut, I wasn't used to seeing that many lights, tall buildings, or that many people. But I was very fortunate. I actually, the day after that I first moved to Chicago, I was able to get a small little job as a candy man down the road, and that kept me busy. And once I started getting into school, shortly after I felt, more like a Chicagoan, and that really worked out well. It was all about just staying busy, because at 19 years old, I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I didn't know anyone in Chicago. I didn't have any family or friends there, so staying busy was key, and it's really worked out since.
How's the salary, or is that based on experience?
As far as acting goes?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you're able to do in any kind of equity building, whereas if you're at Second City or a talent agency is able to find you some other gig within the city, it's pretty much how they conduct themselves. Second City has a completely different role sometimes as to how they pay people, as in other buildings or improv communities in Chicago.
You mentioned earlier about remembering your lines. How difficult is that? That's got to be hard to remember every line.
Usually, thank goodness, that's actually one of my skills that I'm able to pick up.
That's amazing.
During this year, it was, as I mentioned earlier, it's been very busy, very blessed. I've been very busy with shows, but at times I was with sketch shows. It's not like a play where you're handed just one, book of lines. You can have up to 15, 20 different scenes and different characters like improv, but this time it's all sketch. And I would sometimes be juggling 3, 4 different shows at once, so it could actually be quite challenging to memorize upwards of 40, 50 different characters, and different scenes, but I usually can memorize an entire show within a week.
Wow, that is incredible.
That's
There's a lot of
skill.
lines you have, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of talking lines to my cats. They may get tired of it, but they're my best audience.
Have you ever been startled when it's time to say a line that, uh-oh, what am I supposed to be saying here?
Unfortunately, no. In a good way. Unfortunately,
Something.
it's worked out. I think with my improv background, I'm very familiar with, even if I temporarily forgot a line, in improv, there's no stuttering, there's no pausing. You just continue to go with it and learn as you go what you're going to do.
So you're not working with any cue cards or anything like that, telling you your line there behind the cameraman?
Not yet. That's something I actually need to get familiar with because Saturday Night Live, that's how they take care of their business. But in Chicago, what I deal with, it's more making it up on the spot, and it's also just a lot of nights studying lines and getting ready for live audiences. Everything's live in what I do, so.
I keep my cue card right in front of me.
There we go.
How hard is it to find work in theater?
It can be challenging if you're on the outside, kind of looking into, not really understanding, how to network right off the bat, or you don't know the right people. It's been a rewarding process for myself because when I first moved to Chicago, not many people knew me. Like I said, I didn't know any friends or family, so I didn't have any inside connections. And I just continued to put good work out there, worked hard. And within a couple years, I really built a nice improv family and sketch family out there. So I have opportunities that continue to come through and come to me based off of what people have seen me do in the past. And in return, I get a lot of work. I get a lot of shows that come my way.
That's wonderful. What would you tell some high school student if they came to you and asked, and they were interested in theater? How would you tell them to prepare for it? Or what advice would you have for them?
In theater, obviously just have fun, especially in high school. Don't take it too seriously. Obviously want to memorize the lines and do as great a job as you can. But moving forward in your life, find exactly what kind of theater department you would like to go into. If it's obviously the dramatic theater, then that's obviously something you'd want to gear yourself towards. I myself, I was able to decipher very quickly that drama and serious theater wasn't for me. So instead of investing a lot of time and money and work into becoming an actual dramatic actor, I switched my attention and I moved into comedy. And that's probably one of the best things and advice that I could give anyone that would like to do something even that I'm doing, is to figure out where is the best place to invest your time, money, and work into your true passion. And mine actually is to get laughs. I will take a whole room roaring and doubling over in laughter than I'll ever worry about claps. So it's whatever passion that you want, really focus that attention towards, not just theater, but what do you really enjoy doing on stage.
Well, your parents and your sister have to be very proud of you, I would think.
Thank you.
Do they have anything, advice for you as well?
They're my rock. They're my everything that I will lean on through ups and downs, and they're my biggest fans, as I am theirs. They support me, and they've been waiting for New York to come calling, so they're very supportive.
I'm sure New York's going to be calling very, very soon.
Thank you.
Do they get to Chicago at all to get to see you perform?
They do. Unfortunately, with my sister being in college, she was unable to see my graduation at Second City, being the conservatory. But my mother and father were able to come to Chicago, and it was a very proud moment for everybody. Them being in the audience and myself being on stage, being able to actually show them what sketch comedy is and what I've been working for 4 years on to actually achieve in school was something very proud. It was an awesome experience and very rewarding, of course.
Do you have a favorite actor and actress?
I do. So originally getting into comedy, it was all about Will Ferrell. And I still hold Will Ferrell to a Babe Ruth type level. But Jimmy Fallon, especially after taking over The Tonight Show, and what he's able to do and how much fun he has on camera. That's the peak of what I want to have my own Tonight Show, at the peak of my mountain. So Jimmy Fallon, and then as far as women go, I love Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. Obviously their movie coming out, I'm very excited about, Sisters on Christmas Day. But those two are some of my favorites.
It's got to be really exciting. They're so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I know you will go bigger and bigger. Another thing, when you were at Conneaut High School, no, actually you were in Chicago, I believe. Seeing you march out there on the field with your sister
Yes.
on, I think it was senior parent night, that had to be a thrill for you to do that.
That was one of my most proudest moments of being a brother, and just overall. I was able to race in from Chicago that night for senior night for my sister, and
How outstanding is that?
it was one of the most, easily was top 5 special moments of my life, and being able to race in just in time, and then watching everyone line up. I was actually hiding off near the dumpster, which may not have looked that appealing at the time, but I was hiding off near the dumpster, and right before she was about to go walk up, I believe, to the 50-yard line, or at least walk down the 50.
It's a 50.
I was able to, my mom was on one side and my dad and I switched out at the last moment and surprised her.
I remember that. And she was just wonderful.
It was, and it was an
a
amazing
wonderful
night.
scene, yes, it was a very amazing night.
Yeah, it was.
Did they win that game? I don't remember.
Unfortunately, I was so excited for
The game was
for my sister.
secondary, right?
Yeah, I was cheering my sister on while she was cheering, of course, on the Spartans at the time. So.
Speaking of Autumn, talk a little bit about her. What college is she at? What is she studying now?
Definitely, she's at Kent, and she's really kind of geared her attention more towards hospitality as well. And she's also looking into nail technicians. So she's very excited to obviously just work with customer service. She just loves being around people, as do I. And just really finding out her niche now post Conneaut High School.
Denny, did you ever have a plan B in case theater was not going to work out for you? Did you have something else in mind?
Definitely.
Obviously, you wanted to be a baseball player, but besides that,
One of my biggest passions as well, as you mentioned earlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's something I found out as well that I could probably pass down to any of the youth in Conneaut, is just obviously find your passion in theater, or just overall find what you love doing. And that's something that I've always taken seriously, and something that I've used as a backup plan was always to become something involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even to this day, if I'm still waiting around for my call to New York, I will look Pittsburgh's way and invest my time into something into their organization. But until then, obviously, it's 100% geared towards acting and doing comedy.
Saturday Night Live, I can see it now.
Thank you.
Starring Denny Glasser.
It has a ring to it that I would love to hear.
It does have a ring to it, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing that.
Thank you very much.
And if anything else you want to share out here before we close this interview, Denny, about anything in Chicago that I may have missed?
That's
Anything else you want to get out there for us?
for the most part, that's it. I just to cover as well, I'm a concierge in Chicago. So the one tricky thing with my comedy career, I will do overnight shifts as a overnight concierge in Chicago, and then I will usually sleep into the early afternoon, get ready, and then more than likely go head to a show, and then right after the show, head right back into my overnight concierge career. So it's constantly busy in Chicago. I love it, but it is very busy. There's very little sleep and a lot of running around, but it's a blessed
It's
situation.
a city that never dies, right?
That's true. It's my kind of town.
Before you do your performance, how many times do you practice it?
Before an improv show, we'll just warm up briefly with those that we're going to go on stage with, and we go right out there, usually for a 30-minute to potentially an hour set of improv. When it comes to sketch, a sketch comedy show, we will usually do about 2 months worth of rehearsals leading up to the show. About once a week we'll do a rehearsal, and then we'll lead into anywhere from a 4 to potentially an 8-month or an 8-week show run, that we'll do shows usually on the weekends. And we won't practice much once we start shows, but leading up to it, we'll do about once a week for about 2 months.
Maybe you could do a performance in Cleveland someday, and it'd be a lot closer for us to come and see you.
That's a much easier commute,
Yeah.
and potentially much better entertainment in the fall season. We'll see what happens.
Or I'll even go down to Pittsburgh if you go there. That's only a couple hours away as well.
That's very true. Either way, I'd love to entertain my hometown fellow Conneaut people.
And I'm sure we're all anxious to see you. All right, Denny, before we go, how about giving us a little taste of Chicago? Can you do that for us?
I like that. I can definitely do that.
Great.
Something interesting, many of you might know or not, I had a mustache for many years, and I actually recently just got rid of it. It was very sad to watch it go, but the reason I did that is to take on more characters and do some more impressions for potentially SNL and beyond. So if you guys would like, I can take my glasses off and
yes, do it.
do some impressions.
Yes.
This one might sound very familiar with what's going on with all the Republican and Democrat races going on, but maybe you guys might pick up on this. We're in for a really big treat tonight. I'm going to be talking pretty much about myself the whole time. It's going to be big, it's going to be huge, huge. I have a panel of guests with me. They're pretty much going to talk me up and mention how great I am, kind of like a big wall. Huge. First up, I have Jerry Seinfeld, fellow New York guest of mine. He's great. You could guess it, huge. Jerry, what do you think of my presidential run I'm trying to create right now? Trump, you have a great chance of winning. I would say that to anybody though. I'd say it to Kramer. You actually look like Kramer. Your hair, it's all over the place. It's crazy. Huge. Thanks, Jerry. You're real supportive. Huge. Next up, I know this is kind of unexpected, but we have Forrest Gump. Forrest, what would you like to say to me? Trump. Huge. Trump, I think you should stop running for president. I stopped running a long time ago, and it's paid dividends. Stop running now. Huge. We'll kind of sidestep that and not go back to him anymore. Well, that's pretty much all the people that wanted to hang around me tonight, so have a great night, have a huge night. It's gonna be huge. Don't let China get involved. China, 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 China. Huge. Cliches. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very good.
Very good.
Good luck to you.
Thank you,
You're going
guys.
big time, buddy.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.